Okay, welcome back to members of 121 Community Church in Grapevine, Texas, in our ongoing study in Corinthians by Paul, dated AD 56. Now that we're into chapter 12, we're going to take a look at a brief review of Paul's ethical position to this point. And what we find is that Paul's Christian ethics is leading to norizo, mature spiritual understanding. But for Paul, spiritual understanding is not a purely theoretical goal. It combines theoretical and the practical in order to be true spiritual understanding. It must include the practical. So let's take a look at our it's a very brief review, but let's take a look at a review of the first 12 chapters. And if you look at block 1 and chapters 1 through 6, Paul gives us the 5 theoretical aspects of Christian ethics, the foundation of which is the mind of Christ. The design of his ethics is the new temple in Christ, which is the believer, who is the temple of the Holy Spirit. The advocacy is the lordship of Christ. Christ is Lord. The character of Christian ethics is holiness and unity. And the locus, the location of Christian ethics, is not just spiritual, it's body and spirit combined. So by the time we had reached chapter 6, we had the theoretical side of Paul's Christian ethics. But then from chapters 7 through 11, he transitions into the practical. So let's take a look at block 2 and the 6 practical aspects of Christian ethics. And Paul begins by, as you remember, telling us that prayer is the foundation of practical ethics. The design, it's to lead to the sanctification of the believer. Advocacy, again, of course, is going to be the lordship of Christ. The character is a character of abiding in Christ, hupomeno, abiding in Christ. The locus for the practical side of ethics is the believer's constant attentiveness toward Christ and his presence, in his charisma presence. And then 6, the actualization of practical ethics is responsibility concerning our exousia liberty in Christ, concerning putting on the phronesis practical mind of Christ, and the design of habitation of man and woman together. So for Paul, he does not stop at the theoretical. He has to include the practical, and the theoretical and the practical together lead to chapter 12 and block 3. And we transition to the objective side of Christian ethics and the work of spirit. Because we know chapter 13 is coming up, and it's going to be the great chapter on agape love. But in 12, Paul transitions to objective Christian ethics as work of spirit. And we're going to find that the combined wisdom of Sophia, wisdom of the heart, and gnosis, wisdom of the mind, plus the sacrament of the Lord's Supper and the discernment in taking the Lord's Supper, both of those lead to the spiritual understanding of norizo, which is essential to mature Christian ethics. So we truly do learn that for Paul, Christian ethics is, of course, theoretical. It's an ethics of the mind of Christ. But it's practical because we live in continual prayer and meditation. We do live toward our sanctification through participation in the realm of the Spirit and participating in Christ. That means that advocacy on the theoretical and the practical side can only be the lordship of Jesus Christ. He is at the right hand of the Father as Lord, as Kyrios Lord. And then the practical character is abiding, the Greek hupomeno, abide in Christ. It's the compound word hupomeno. And then we are to be attentive to Christ's lordship. And then we learn that our liberty is a responsible liberty of self-discipline. And then we put on the phronesis, practical, ethical mind, and then Paul reminded us of the design of habitation, which was man with woman, which was established at the very foundation of the world. And all of that leads to norizo, mature spiritual understanding. That's the goal of Christian ethics. It's the goal of sanctification. It's the goal of justification. Mature spiritual understanding. Paul says your goal is to truly understand the Father who loves you, and the Son who intercedes for you, and the Spirit as your comforter and advocate. You must reach norizo, mature spiritual ethical understanding, which combines the theoretical and the practical. It becomes probably the most critical review we could do right now. We need to do this prior to looking at our next lesson, which will take up chapter 12. But we needed to have this review first to really understand what Paul is aiming toward, and he's aiming toward mature spiritual understanding, which is the Greek concept of norizo. Paul's Christian ethics, his first Christian ethics, is to lead a fallen fellowship at Corinth to a more mature understanding of Christ, a more mature understanding of the Father, a more mature understanding of the realm of spirit, and in that way to actually reach a state of norizo, spiritual understanding, which does involve the objective work of Spirit and the gifts of Spirit on the objective side to be coupled with that theoretical and the practical on the subjective side. So we will be moving into the objective work of Spirit in our next lesson in chapter 12, but this gives us just a very, very brief, extremely brief, but you can always pause it and take notes, but you have this review triad of the theoretical, the practical, and the objective work of Spirit as our review triad. And we will pick up next time with our next lesson that we'll pick up in chapter 12.